Welcome back to Well, What Do You Know? When I sat down with today's guest, Livv Seddon, it was only the second time we had ever spoken. But the conversation took off so naturally that we ended up recording for more than an hour, which turned into this two-part episode. In part one, Livv talks about her childhood, moving all over the country, her family, and how soccer became such a huge part of her life. It's a great story, and I'm excited for you to hear it. Here's part one of my conversation with Livv Seddon. All right, Livv, thanks for coming in today.
Of course. It's good to be here.
Let's start from the beginning. Where'd you grow up? How many family members did you grow up with? All that good stuff.
Yeah. Grew up, I was born actually in Colorado. We moved all the time. So whenever someone asks where I'm from, I never know how to answer the question. I have one sister, mom and a dad, but we're a pretty tight-knit family, mainly because we moved so much. But, I was born in Colorado, moved about 2 weeks after I was born to San Francisco. Lived there for a little bit, and then we moved to St. Louis, Missouri, then upstate New York, back to Missouri, and then I spent my high school years in Southern California. And then that's kind of when I ventured off into college. And
Yeah. So when somebody says they move that often when they're young, you automatically think military family.
Yep,
True?
I always get that. Nope,
No?
I'm not a military brat. My dad started with this company called Gray Bar Electric.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows it.
Yeah.
So he started with that pretty much right outside of grad school.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where they started in Colorado. And then, just kind of worked his way up from the bottom. And each time he did really well. We got to move a new place. So it was always a good thing that we moved. And he's still with the company now.
Wow. How many years?
Oh, gosh, this is a good question. I don't know. He's almost as high up as he can go. I know if he were to take a higher up job, it would take him back to Missouri.
Okay.
And they're in Georgia right now, so I know they're like loving it.
Okay.
So I think they're just going to hang out there until he's ready to retire, and then probably move close to my sister or I, depending on kids and where we're at and stuff like that. So, but yeah, he's been there since probably his early 20s, and he's like 50 something now. So
You seem like it was a good thing to move. I mean, you seem to have a pretty good attitude about it.
yeah, I think so. As a kid, when you're like everyone's your best friend, like you meet them on the bus and you're like, oh, we're gonna be best friends. That was hard leaving, but looking back, I'm very fortunate. I think from the way it turned out soccer wise, like I got to experience so much throughout my time, play all over the country, different levels, stuff like that. But I also think personally it's brought me out of my shell. Like I think that's helped in my professional life as well as like school and friends and stuff like that. Like not many people can say I've really good friends all throughout the country, and it's made me really have to be good at communication and keeping up with people and like build more meaningful relationships.
So moving around that often, were you able to develop a good relationship with extended family, grandparents, aunts, uncles?
Yes. Yes and no. We are both my parents grew up in Rockford, Illinois. Okay. So for a good majority of our childhood, we lived in St. Louis. So it was only like a 6-hour drive from there.
Go Cards.
What?
Go Cards.
Yeah. So I know. They're both Cubs fans, so I know. Well, they're from Chicago, so
I get it. All right. Fine.
But yeah, they also, all of our grandparents lived up there, aunts, uncles, all that stuff. So we were seeing them all the time. Both my grandma and then my grandparents were very much in my life. Just my dad, for the portion of that time, was doing international for the business. So he was gone a lot. So my mom would take us up there and hang out with them. And so for that sense, yes, like we were really, really close, which was nice. We didn't have any cousins that were very close at age, but old enough to where we could still hang out. They liked to hang out with us, all that stuff. So it was good. Now that we've kind of ventured out, everyone's kind of spread out. We got like some Minnesota, Florida, kind of all over the place. Really? But everywhere we've gone, we've kind of connected with family that are close by. So
you mentioned a sister. Were you guys, first of all, close in age and then close growing up?
Yes. So 2 years apart. She's 2 years older than me. Okay. Growing up, no, not at all. Like I mean, there's always a funny story, and I know she's going to tell it at my wedding one day, of me chasing her around with like a knife. Like it's so, I would steal her clothes. I would just be that annoying little sister.
Okay, annoying little sister is one thing, but chasing her off
yeah.
a knife?
I had some anger issues as a kid, I would say. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't until, because again, we lived in Southern California when she went off to college. I was still in high school. So she went to LMU, which was not too far in LA. So, I mean, once she kind of went away.
LMU, Loyola Marymount?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Home of Gathers? Mm-hmm. Okay, sorry.
So, once she went away, I think that's kind of when we started to get closer. Like, I would go out and visit her on the weekends sometimes, and we kind of developed our own relationship outside, like, our family. Mm-hmm. And then, especially when I went off to school, like, we kind of both entered, like, our adult sisterhood or whatever you want to call it. So that was really, really special to me because I think I've never viewed her like that. And I think I've always secretly looked up to her and I never wanted to admit it. Yeah. But now that we've kind of grown up, I've seen everything she's accomplished, personally, professionally, and I just it's brought us so much closer. And yeah, we talk almost every day. Good. She's like my best friend. So it's nice to see that growth from our friends.
You sounded proud of her.
Very much, yes. Yeah, she's... I always say this because, I did the sports, so my parents were always invested in that because they had to take me to practice and tournaments, and it was a spectator sport, so they were always there to support me, and she basically was achieving all these things kind of behind the scenes, very good in school. I had a lot of very good friends, not like delinquents or anything like that. She knew a good person when she saw one, and she surrounded herself with them. And I think that's helped her continue to achieve things in her professional life. I always call her my boss queen because she just so organized the way that she talks to me about her work. She continues to climb the ladder, and people are of higher up status in her job are reaching out to her for not validation, but just because she knows everything. Right. And I just I'm so proud of her because she's done that without needing other people's support. She just kind of puts her head down and she grinds. And she's also been so picky with her partner. So in terms of relationships, I've looked up to her because she holds herself to a very high standard, and her husband's amazing. He's my standard of person for a partner, and they've been married I think 3 years now, and they're about to actually have their first baby. So literally any day. So I'll be an aunt, so I'm excited to see her in that light as a mom because I know she'll be phenomenal.
So you live in Ames now. Where is she? Are you able to stay close and see each other?
No, she's actually in Sacramento. So they stayed in LA after college because she met her partner in college. So he is from Sacramento, but obviously was in school in LA, and then they moved up to Sacramento because that's where all his family's from. So she'll still have a lot of family support from his side, which is nice. But yeah, she's kind of far. Yeah. So I'll get to see her for the first time for the holidays.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
I have two daughters, and one of them is in North Carolina and one of them is here in Iowa. Okay. So I think they FaceTime every day, every single day. I'm sure they do. They're best friends. So, and I will tell you, I can't speak on behalf of your parents, but I will tell you that as a dad, having kids, I have three children. My son is my oldest, but they get along really well. And I think my wife and I talk about it all the time. That is our greatest accomplishment, that those three get along so well. Yeah. So
you're doing your parents proud.
That's awesome. And they'll touch on that all the time. Sometimes they'll get a little, not nostalgic, but my dad will text us sometimes. He's like, I miss my babies and stuff like that. And I think they love that we get along so well because when we get together for the holidays, it's like we were little kids again, and it's so nice.
Playing games and giggling and all that stuff. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So how many schools did you attend then? Can you count them up before high school? Because you settled eventually in, Chino Hills? Is that right?
Yep.
So before that, how many schools before Chino?
Oh, gosh. Let's see. My very first school, technically, was in St. Louis. So I had elementary there, and then elementary in New York, and then elementary back in St. Louis, so that's 3. Middle school, 2 middle schools, so that's 5. And high school, so 6. Okay. Wow. 6 schools, I think. This is correct.
So if you had your choice, infinite amount of money, everything's equal, where do you go back?
I wouldn't have said this growing up, like as a kid,
Yeah.
but upstate New York.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. We lived in Fairport, New York. And as a kid, I'm sure you've watched Hallmark movies. Yeah, I know. But at the same time, like they're so cute. And that's kind of like the town we lived in.
Okay.
It was on the Erie Canal. So like we would go kayaking all the time. Like everything was kind of not always family owned, but very community based. It wasn't like Chili's and TJ Maxx and like all that stuff. It was very specific to Fairport, and they'd always have little festivals and stuff for holidays. And like my favorite thing was they did this thing called the Scarecrow Festival. So like every storefront or business on the main street would do kind of like a setup with a scarecrow of some sort that replicated something having to do with their business.
Oh, cool.
And then the town would have a festival, and you could walk down and vote and everything. And like all the proceeds of what you bought at each little booth, kind of like a farmer's market thing, would go to so either to help fund the small business or whatever. And that was always so cool as a kid. And and that was also the first time I played like my first club competitive soccer. So that was kind of the start of like everything for me. So, and I had a great experience with them, with that team. So yeah, and it's just gorgeous up there.
Yeah.
Like as a kid too, being like 8 and saying I've been to Canada before was really cool, because we literally lived like 40 minutes from the border.
Okay.
So I was an 8-year-old with a passport, and we'd go up there. Everyone that ever wanted to visit us, we would take them to Niagara Falls, and we thought it was the coolest thing. So I'm sure my parents got annoyed of going on the Maid of the Mist every single time, but as a kid, I was like, this is so cool. So
I'm sure being from the Midwest, I'm a Midwest guy, and I've visited New York once, but it was New York City. Mm-hmm. And when you say New York, everybody automatically thinks New York City.
Yeah.
And how could you possibly like that? But you're describing a place that is more Midwest-like than New York-like.
Yeah, it's so... if you love the outdoors, it's like that. And that's very much me. That's why I loved when I was in Oregon. That's why I loved in Colorado for college. Like, it's so green. Everybody's outside. Like, it's very community-based. I'm not a city girl, so very different from New York City. It's like suburban, but you're close to like Rochester, which is kind of like obviously a smaller city, but you get that city feel, which is nice.
Sure.
As a kid, we rarely went up there unless it was to this one place, because my dad wanted it's called a garbage plate. I could not tell you what's on it, but think of like every possible food with some sauces all in this massive plate. As an adult, I would love to try one, because that sounds delicious, but it's just like this monstrous dish that you can only get at certain places. But a lot of the times, the best place there was one in Rochester, so my dad loved to go there when we were kids. So
I'm an extremely picky eater, and I don't like my food touching.
Okay,
if I had my way, I'd still use the school divided plates, those rectangle things. So I can't relate to that, but I understand what you're talking about. Yeah. So let's go across the country back to Chino Hills. That's where did you entire high school career there?
Yep, I went for my 8th grade through senior year. Okay. So, yep.
What's that like? Is that totally different than New York? Because did you go from New York to
back to St. Louis and then California. Yep. Yeah, it was very different. Big culture shock for sure, just because my school was outdoors for one, which was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So that was entirely different, which was hilarious because I broke my leg in soccer my 8th grade year. So as a new kid, a couple months in, I had to cast a bright pink one, because that was the only color they had, up to my hip. Wow. And when it would rain, our school's outside. Yeah. So I'd have to crutch with a garbage bag taped to my leg. It was a good way to make friends. So it was very different. But again, that was the first time I experienced a place that was so diverse.
Right.
So especially from a soccer perspective, our school actually was more, I would say, the Hispanic and Asian, was more percentage of our school than Caucasian, which was awesome. So many of my friends, I feel experience their culture, which was so cool. And one of my friends lived with their grandparents, because in Hispanic culture, that's more normal. And I just thought that was so cool, and I definitely got a way bigger appreciation for the different type of people that we have in the States, and you just don't get that as often in the Midwest, so that was really cool. But it's so busy in California.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think I'd ever move back. As a kid too, you don't expect it to be that financial situation, but it was crazy expensive. I remember I wanted to get my first job because I wanted to be able to afford to go do stuff with my friends, but my parents were like, no, well, it's okay, we'll help you out, because they wanted me to focus on soccer so I could get a scholarship and all that stuff. But the beach was cool.
Yeah.
We lived like 30-ish minutes from the beach, so that was like typically the one fun thing that I would try to prioritize.
Right.
But yeah, just not my place. It's just way too much going on.
Yeah. I've been to LA, I think 3 times now, and I completely agree with you. I can't do it. I'm so ready to leave.
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law's from LA, and I go with him twice now, and he loves it, drives, is able to drive out there. I can't do it.
Yeah, it's definitely an experience, and I think it's a good place to go vacation. Obviously, if you're from there, you're used to it, but coming from Midwest, it's just, I like the not slow, but like slower pace of life out here, and especially in Ames. I never thought I would be saying this, but I just it's so peaceful here.
Yeah.
And so it's just nice to kind of unplug and be with my friends, be with my boyfriend, and just kind of enjoy what I'm doing.
Right.
So
So tell me about that injury.
Well, it's funny because I did it twice. I did it in 8th grade, and then I did it in college. The same place, the same leg. So lucky me. But no, the first time it was just both were soccer injuries. I was in 8th grade, so I didn't know how to slide tackle.
Okay.
So my first ever time slide tackling, I broke my leg, so don't recommend. But yeah, I sort of slide tackled a girl in a game, and she just kind of fell on it wrong, and I broke it. And that one was 8 months in a cast, so I had 4 different casts. So by the time I got out of it, my leg was a little beanpole. It didn't help that I went through, I guess, my growth spurt while I was in my cast. Thankfully, it didn't affect anything major, but now when I lift or run the way I plant, my foot is a little cockeyed from where it should align with my knee. I think it just made me really good at taking free kicks when I got to college. But
so that's from the first injury, the 8th grade injury.
Yes,
okay,
because that's when I went through my growth spurt.
Okay.
It's not a huge thing. It's not like my foot's all the way over here or anything. But
you didn't walk in with the so.
But yeah, and then the second time I did it, and the same thing. I was actually in training. It was the very first practice of my junior year, preseason. We had just run the fitness test, and I passed with flying colors. And I trained so hard, and then we went into training, and the grass was just wet, and we were doing 1v1s, and I just did a move, and I slipped and fell and broke it.
Wow.
And I knew immediately.
You said junior year, but junior year.
Junior year
right?
college,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it gave me an extra year of eligibility, so I'm very thankful because I was able to
so
get my master's and do all that fun stuff. So.
Hey everyone, it's Eric from the Well, What Do You Know podcast. One of my favorite parts of this show is getting to sit down and hear real stories from real people, because when we actually listen, we find out we're not so different after all. If you've ever thought, hey, I've got a story worth telling, or someone who does, I'd love to hear from you. Just check out the description of this podcast and you'll find my link tree. In there is a guest form to fill out. And keep in mind, there's no cost involved, and I bring the studio to you. So fill out that guest form. I'd really love to talk to you.
You've obviously mentioned soccer a lot. It's obviously a huge part of your life. You're doing soccer work now. We'll get there eventually. But did you do any other sports in high school?
I did run distance track. I trained for cross country, but I have massive anxiety when it comes to anything running related. Not so much now. I do it for fun, but back then I was just so competitive, and I didn't want to lose and whatever. So I would train with the cross country team, but I never raced. If that makes sense. It was honestly mainly for fitness for soccer.
So that had to be a pretty understanding coach.
Yes. I only did it my first 2 years, and I only trained with them in the summer and then sometimes in the fall. but it was, it wasn't really an agreement that we had made. It was just, it got down to when it was time to race, and I was like, I can't do it. Yeah. So I felt really bad, but because back then when I was in my prime, I was a decent runner. So, yeah. But I did commit to distance track. I did do it, and I hated every minute of it, but I did it. And then after sophomore year, like it was too much on my body. Right. So I just stuck to soccer. But.
Yeah. You mentioned that you played your first like competitive club league in New York. What age was that?
I believe I was 8.
8.
So okay. I was a baby.
So is that when it started? Your love for soccer?
Oh yeah. Oh well before that, okay. For sure. But that was, club just wasn't a thing the way it is now back then. Yeah. So it was, when we moved up there, all I was doing was recreational. And when we got there, we had like a league in town or whatever, and the coach was like, oh, you should try travel, which doesn't really exist now, but it was kind of like the next step up.
Sure.
So it was with your actual, we had a Fairport team, and then we play against other towns, and it was slightly more competitive. It was more through your like elementary school type thing.
Okay.
I don't know. And then that coach knew somebody from the club level, and it was a bit of a drive, but it was an actual club team.
Yeah.
And they introduced me to them, and then I tried out, and the rest is history.
Do you remember the discussions that you had with your parents when you had to were trying to decide whether or not to do club? Because it's a commitment, isn't it?
Yeah, honestly, I don't. I think they could tell I loved it since I was like first. I mean, because my sister did it first, and so being so young, my dad working, my mom had to cart me around, so I always was there at her trainings. And I was like 3, and I was the one trying to get on the field to play right. And kick the ball. And they're like, "You're not old enough." And so by that point, I think they knew I was pretty locked into it and loved it. So I don't really remember having to convince them. They've always been super supportive of that. They still are. So.
And what year did you went from New York to St. Louis? And how much time did you spend in St. Louis then?
The second time, about 2.5.
So you played soccer there as well?
Yes.
Okay, at what levels?
But at that point, there was a more like established club scene in the Midwest. I would say St. Louis is like actually a really good soccer hub for that. So I played, at the time, it was the only ECNL or club team they had. They had like Livv and JB Marine like starting to like become something. Which now Livv is huge, which is great. But I played for Scott Gallagher. Thankfully it was close by where I lived. But we had one of my good friends on the team would travel from Illinois to play on it, just because she lived right across the border and stuff like that. So, I played there for 2.5 years. And
do you feel like you had to start, because you had made a name for yourself, obviously, in upstate New York? Yeah. Did you feel like you had to start over and kind of prove yourself again in St. Louis?
Yeah, I would say my time in St. Louis was a little bit tougher because I had such a good experience in New York. And, like, I would say the team that I played for, I had to start out on the B team and prove myself there, which I'm totally fine doing. And I did well, and I actually really loved my teammates. We were good. There wasn't like really a big difference. But then I eventually moved to the A team, and it was good, but it was very different because it was the most professional environment I had been on for like a soccer club team at that age. Okay. So there was a lot more, I hate to say it, but there's a lot more politics involved at 11 than I would have expected there to be. So that was tough.
Isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, I mean, now it's insane the way it's grown in good ways and bad ways. But yeah, at 11, I just wasn't expecting that. So yeah.
So you make it to Chino then at around 12, 13 then? Is that about right?
Yeah, 13. I think I was, because I was going into 8th grade. So
did you have to start over again?
I did. Thankfully, my dad is a saint, and he had to go out early for his job about 6 months while we were trying to pack up the house and stuff like that. Sure. So he basically, every time he was off work, would go out to different clubs and kind of vet which one would make the most sense, what's closest to the area we're going to live, all this sort of stuff. So by the time we got out there, I had tryouts already scheduled. So I went to, I think, at the time, 3 different clubs and tried out and got a feel for the team, the level, all this sort of stuff, and then kind of got to pick. Yeah. Obviously, they had to like me as well, but and yeah, I joined Arsenal at the time. I don't really know if they're even still a club right now, but had a really good experience. I only played one season with them, and then our coach, they switched out our coach, and he had like a bunch of teams. So then we were kind of in the background, not really invested in, so our team folded. So I joined another club team, had an amazing experience with my teammates, but it wasn't a club team that was competitive enough to get me seen in front of college coaches.
Okay.
So I actually had to leave that club. I was really sad, but and then I ended up joining a club, I think, end of my freshman year of high school, because my high school coach was a coach for that club, and he was like, come to Legends. Like, I'm like, no, like whatever. And I finally did, and I didn't play for him. He was a different age group than I was, but I loved him as a coach. So I was like, well, if you're representing that club, like they must be, you know. And then I did, and that club team was playing in all the right tournaments, and you know, they got me seen in front of coaches just like I needed. So
Yeah.
it was good.
So we've talked a lot about club, though. Did you play high school soccer for the team?
Yeah,
Okay.
our high school was very good, actually.
Yeah.
So that was really, really, really fun. Again, I will always talk about why I got into coaching, and I'll always talk about my high school coach because he was a big reason. He took the job when I was a freshman. So he was all about culture, all about all the other stuff outside of soccer that play into why you're successful.
Okay.
And he really invested in me because obviously when I joined high school, it was a winter sport in California, but tryouts and stuff were in the fall, and I was still coming off of my broken leg.
Right.
So I had 2 months post out of my cast where I could train and get my touch back and do all that stuff. So I was nervous I wasn't going to make varsity, and all my friends were making varsity at their high schools, but our high school was really good, so I was
Right.
really wanting to make varsity, and I did, which was great. But he really invested in me, and I didn't play a lot my freshman year, and he was like, I'm going to get you, I see the potential. So he took me and the other freshmen, and anytime he wanted to stay after training or train on the weekends, he'd have a regimen for us. We'd go and do everything. And by my sophomore year, I started and played every game. And again, from then on, it was a really good experience for high school. And I think it really prepped me for more of my confidence going into those pivotal years of getting recruited and stuff like that.
So you're saying that your high school team was really good. How good? Quantify it for me. State champions?
Yeah. So our California's crazy because they're so big. So it's not
California's
just
crazy for many reasons.
Many
You
reasons.
continue.
It's not just a state cup because there's so many teams. It's so big. So you have your league, and then you have CIF. So you have I have no idea what that stands for. I think it's yeah.
Me either. That's okay.
Moving on. So there's a southern section and then a northern section. And so your CIF is honestly more of the thing that's harder to win because it's based on division of not just your school size. So we would play other schools that are just as good as us versus once you go to state, that's when you're playing the winners of all of those. So they could still be good, but a winner of another school that's just as big as ours could be in a conference that's not so good, if that makes sense. Yeah. So my sophomore year, we won CIF, which is amazing. And then we all went all the way to state finals, and then we lost in the finals. But we won our league, I think, 3 out of the 4 years I was there. And our first year, we were in Division II.
Okay.
And so we did all right. But then... the first 2 years. And then once we won everything, year 2, we got moved up to D1, which was a big deal. And we went into a new conference, and there's a lot of chirpy schools that wanted to say a lot about our, they're coming for Division 2, whatever. And then we wiped the floor with them. So that was fun because some of my club teammates were on those schools. Wow. So that was a good time.
So this is an audio-only podcast, so I'm the only one that's going to be able to see the face that you
I
made when you talked about losing in the championship.
Yeah, I'm a very animated individual.
Well, you're very competitive, aren't you?
I'm so competitive. Yeah.
Does that? Are you competitive with literally everything?
Everything. Yep.
Because we actually met at the axe throwing place here, and so if you were doing that, are you?
Well, axe throwing is the one. I hate being bad at things. So axe throwing, I'm actually part of our job there is to show people how to do that stuff, right? The bowling, I got down. The golf, I got down. Baseball, I got down. Axe throwing, oh my goodness, it is so embarrassing. I actually just got it to stick the other day when I was showing a family how to do it, but I am so bad at it, so I try not to do stuff that I'm bad at. But yes, I will always try to win at everything, including children's games. I do not care.
So, is it at an extreme? Are you so competitive? Like you mentioned, boyfriend earlier. Does he even play card games with you? Play board games with you? Video games?
Yep, he is probably not as competitive as me, but pretty close to it. So he does not like to lose to me either, which is great. So I mean, when we first started dating, it was hilarious. We would go to the gym that's right in there by his business, and as our cool down, we'd always walk a couple laps in the mall, just like a lot of people do, and we would have speed walking competitions. And
On the cool down.
yes,
Okay.
he is 6'5", so he has way longer legs than me. So I would always lose, which would really hurt my ego. But I would always blame it on the fact that he's twice my size. So.
Right.
But yeah, no, he's equally as competitive. And my mom's side of the family, we didn't watch a lot of TV or movies or whatever growing up. We played games. Yeah. So I love card games. That's kind of how I bonded with my grandparents, all these things. And so when he started meeting my family, I was like, well, you're going to have to play. He's like, oh, my side of the family plays games. Yeah. And I said, oh, let's go. So he's fit right in. And yeah, he doesn't ever let me win, which is important. So.
How long have you guys been dating?
Almost 2 years.
Okay.
So.
All right, let's get back to high school. All right, we took a little trip there, but so talk to me about the recruiting. Wait, I want to ask you that. Okay, I'll delete this part. Talk to me about the schedule that you had to keep. Let's pick a year, junior year of high school. Okay. You're playing club, right? Mm-hmm. You're playing school ball. So. Talk to me about the year. What kind of...
Yeah.
What's your schedule like that year?
Yeah, it was a lot because that was obviously your junior year is when you can start talking to schools. Right. So every event that you're getting seen at, even sometimes club practices, if the local colleges want to come to your trainings, like it's intense. There's a lot of pressure. So I was everything was about soccer for me. Yeah. I had a very good core group of friends. None of them really played sports. They were my friends outside of sports, but yeah, we didn't do much because I was very focused on soccer, but it was all school and all soccer. So yeah. I would go to school, I would come home, for the months that we weren't in high school season, I would then go to training. And a lot of times depending on the day, we'd have our club had our own strength and conditioning. So we'd have some running and all that fun stuff to do. And then I would come home and I would do my homework and I would go to bed. Luckily, our high school, the way that they had it was if you were in a varsity sport, you had this thing called athletic PE. Okay. So it's the last hour of the day, so other people are in class, that's used for your training. Oh, okay. So when you are in season, you are practicing, and that's used as your PE class, which is really nice. When you're not in season, that's when you can use it to do homework and things like that. Okay. So that was super helpful to stay focused on obviously my homework and projects and all that stuff. But yeah, everything was just soccer. Yeah. Soccer, everything that I did was with soccer in mind. Because I just wanted to go to college so bad for soccer. So.
Thank you for listening to Well, What Do You Know? The podcast created to tell people's stories. Everybody's got a story, and every story is worth saving.
The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of the guest and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Well, What Do You Know podcast, P Square Design, Pagitech LLC, or our sponsors. The Well, What Do You Know podcast, its parent company, and its sponsors are not responsible for any statements made by guests during the recording or publication of this episode.